Welcome back, Leveling Up Nation. It is your success strategist, Brigham Blackham. I'm so stoked today. I get Kip and Lora Brown on the podcast again. Some of my favorite people in the world. This is a dynamic duo. We're going to be talking about teamwork. Who better to talk about teamwork than Kip and Lora? They do a little bit of everything in real estate. They're amazing speakers, great storytellers, and Kip has had a wealth of experience building teams across the country. And today, we're going to hear a little bit of not only what the strategy behind what he's doing is, but we're going to hear how they're putting this into a specific modality to help us turn the me into a we. So let's welcome Kip and Lora Brown. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, man, we're so excited. Yeah. Thank you for having us again on this podcast. I absolutely love Leveling Up. I think it's the best podcast out there. I mean, I just have a great time every time and love the way you conduct it and do it. So thank you.
Your energy is always something that revs us up in the morning. So when it's early, let's on with Brigham.
Absolutely. I love to hear that. Now, when you hear the idea of take a me and turn it into a we, what comes top of mind for you? Because as far as teamwork goes, this is an essential element. It's not just a lot of individuals. It's all of us working collaboratively, doing our best and bringing out the best in others.
Well, there's a couple things that come to mind, but there's the Kenya proverb out there that talks about if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go with a group. And I would love to expand upon that because it's kind of the analogy that we see it a lot in movie sets all the time. You see that they'll use like flashbang paper and it goes whoosh like that. And so, yes, it goes super fast, but it's out really, really fast. You got to add the extra stuff in there. You got to have some more wood. You have some kindling. You got to have all these different things to add to it in order to make that fire last. The same exact thing happens if you are going alone. If you want to go really, really fast, you can do that alone, but it's going to be really short-lived. You're going to burn out. You're just not going to have the ability to sustain it. You're not going to get the results that ultimately people are really, I think, looking for out there. But if you want to really achieve those things, do it as a group because life's a lot more fun with people.
Yeah. You bring it all together when you have the collective brain trust is what I like to say, because you can have great ideas by yourself, but it's a lot of work to come up with great ideas. And then you don't know for sure if they're great, but you have to test them and do all those. But if you come together and work together collaboratively, as you said, it really broadens out the base. The foundation grows. And instead of, growing up very tall and very fast, you have a stronger foundation that can be built upon for lasting results, change, all of those different things that you might be looking at.
Wonderful. I have this image from what you just said about how people built pyramids. They went really wide first, built a really strong foundation, and then they went upward. Can you imagine trying to do it the opposite way? Trying to balance everything perfectly. You're like, no, we're going to get this one.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work that well.
No, and it's easy to topple.
Yeah.
I think people are really thinking about it. If you don't build that base wide, get that strong team in place, your foundation is going to crumble. You're going to tip over. Things are going to happen. You're not going to be as resilient.
Absolutely. I remember last year I went to this little river with my kids and they got really interested in stacking rocks that were the river rocks that were round. And we could get, 5 or 6 high, but at some point you barely put that rock on there. Everything just topples down and falls. And you're like, wow, so hard. If you don't have that strong foundation, then it's going to topple over. Visually, that's what came to my head. So thanks for the reminder of that little moment from last year. I definitely want to go play with some river rocks again.
Oh, yes. Well, and that's actually a big part of it that people, I think, tend to overlook. It going with a team, being out there and enjoying it and building that life worth dying for. That's our tagline that we like to say all the time. It's design a life worth dying for. And really, it comes down to those types of moments that you have. It's creating or architecting moments with family, with friends, with your kids, with the people that matter to you, because the real secret of life is that journey. It's not a destination. It's actually the path that you take along the way, the choices you make, the decisions you make, the people you hang out with, the teams you build, it's all of the things that you do between where you are right now and the end piece that matters. People are always so focused here at the end, they forget that to go have fun in the middle.
It's about the experiences too. The broader you have of your experiences and your experiences with other people, so it's not just your experiences, because that broadens your experience base as well. The more experiences you have in your life, the more you have to draw from to be able to really take yourself to a new level, next level, leveling up. You can talk about it in all sorts of different ways, but it's the breadth and of experience that can also set that foundation for you. And when we talk about a dynamic duo, right, we have a breadth of experience separately, and then coming together and bringing those two different perspectives together is really have been very powerful in how we've been able to do the things that we do and level up in our own lives, and then continue that through community.
I love it. Now, when I think of people being their very best, one of my favorite quotes has to do with this idea of, I'm going to take care of me for you so that you can take care of you for me. If we mix that up and we focus only on doing things for other people, it's just like that flash paper as well. We will burn out extremely quickly. But when we take care of ourselves, we have the self-care to figure out, what in my personal life, what in my professional life, what in my vitality, what in my community am I doing to make sure that I'm taken care of, so that I can be the very best that I can. I can serve the very best that I can. You turn that me to a we as quickly as possible. And it's no longer about just what you can do anymore. I remember this story. This was one told to me years ago of these deacons. These are all little 12, 13-year-old kids in our church, where they had to go move a piano, like the 12-year-olds moving a piano. And it wasn't just, one or two of them. They had to grab this piano, and the leader said, all I need you to do is to lift where you stand. I'm like, okay. So they got all around here. There's like 10 or 12 of these deacons, and they pick up this piano, and they were able to do it because they lifted where they stood. And if you think about the shared load that we all have, last week I talked about how leadership is taking that load upon us. It's all about making sure that we don't just do our best, we encourage others to do their best, because when you lift where you stand and you do your role, you own your stewardship, suddenly everyone can accomplish more than they could, exponentially more than they could, because they did it together. What's your thoughts on that little story?
Oh, I think that story is the absolute perfect example of how to really think about working as a team and collaborating together. Like, I had to deal with this a lot in my IT professional career. Every person had a function that they needed to perform. And if one piece missed, then the entire project would suffer. Everybody would have to figure out how to pick up that slack. But the whole point was, you as an individual, you've got a contributing role. You do this part, you lift where you stand. That collectively together is what made the teams great. It wasn't an individual. Like I even though I had a senior role on the team, I had that spot where everybody needed, they looked at me to make the decision. They looked at me to do a lot of the design. They looked to me to move the project forward. But I couldn't do any of that without the team underneath me. I needed the testers that were focusing in on making sure the product had quality. I needed the developers to modify the software itself to do what we needed to do. I needed the clients to understand what they really needed in their business. You need every single piece of that to make it work. And it's the same as the piano scenario where you're picking that up. If one of the 12-year-olds didn't pick up where they lift where they stood, the piano tips.
Yeah.
The project crashes. Your life isn't as solid, and the foundation is messed up. So it ties it all together like that. That's a perfect story for that.
For me, it is a true illustration of it is when I was recovering from brain surgery, right? I had done a lot of speaking before that. I had taught college classes. I had been leader of a variety of different teams. I had taught youth and brought that all up. But when I was at a point where if it was just me doing it, I would only get to a small portion, and then I wouldn't be able, you could say I failed in the sense that I wouldn't be able to remember what I was as easy. I would ramble. So we ended up working together where Kip would lead the conversation and start doing things, and I could jump in where I was, and I could grow those pieces along the way and keep adding to them as I was being able to get reps in. And so there is that concept as well. So doing the we is doing something for the benefit of all of us together will help you grow and expand where you are so that you can also grow along the way, but it's not necessarily just for your benefit, if you will. And in doing that, I have now gotten to the point where, yes, I can do a whole presentation by myself. I can speak in front of people, which we do at the Totality events, and we do at a variety of things. I can take those one-on-one things, but it was because it was the steps along the way that we worked together and made it more of a we, and not just I need to do this, but let's do this together and grow that. And now we do it together in a group dynamic to help people grow. It just keeps broadening that out. And it's a fantastic way of doing it.
Absolutely. That reminded me of a Chinese proverb, surprise, of this young farmer who he sees all of his neighbors growing these beautiful crops of rice. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do that. And he watched him a little bit. He's like, oh, you just plant it like that? Perfect. He learned how to plant it. And then got a little impatient. He's like, why is this not growing faster? What is going on? And he saw the first little sprout come up. He's like, oh, it's happening. It's happening. And he kept watering, and then more of the shoots came out, and he looked around and he's like, you know what? I think I can help them grow faster. So he walked out into his field, got his muck boots on, trudging through there, sloshing around, and he pulled up every single one of those little sprouts just a little bit to nudge them, to force them to grow a little bit faster. Because that's what you do if you think you're going to help people without getting the permission first. And he's going out there and he's making sure that we are going to grow as fast as we possibly can. But in the process, Ba Miao Zhujiang, he took that pull up of every single one of these. And because he did that, forced growth, he killed all of his plants. You don't want to kill the growth by forcing everything on people. So what comes top of mind for you? How do you avoid forced growth and running faster than you actually have energy to? And what does that mean in turning a me into a we?
I think it's meeting people where they are. We want to so oftentimes be able to set somebody up and say, let's start here so that you can grow, right? But we don't actually always sit down and say, where are you right now? And how can we help you find that stability? How can we help you get your foundation set so that we can start building upon it together and doing those types of things? So I think that is what would come to mind, if you will, because you get excited about growth, right? It's so exciting to see people grow. As I said, I work with youth. I've worked with youth my entire life. And one of the big things is to see those aha moments, to see how they have taken what they've learned and be able to expand upon it and do something for themselves and be the best version of themselves. And that aspect is nothing short of exciting beyond belief. But if you don't do that, then, people tend to quit very quickly.
And I think to kind of expand on that too, I think a big piece of this is, and I see this mistake that coaches do all the time. Mentors do this all the time. We come in with an idea in our head of what is right for you. And now all of a sudden we're leading with a service. Hey, I offer you this service for this price. And this is the benefits of my service. It's so great. You should try it. It'll be the best thing ever. I'm obviously being a little facetious here, but the concept is the same. There'll be some pitch like in that sort of format. But the problem is, if I am just meeting you for the first time, I have no idea what service I can offer you that is of benefit to you. until we sit down and have a very collaborative discussion where we open up, and I cannot talk you into your future, nor should I. Like, we should be out here understanding what challenges you have, and then collaboratively work together to see if we can solve the challenge. It's really access that you're looking for when you're looking at coaches and mentors. You're not trying to find somebody, because if I'm spoon feeding you an answer, if I'm telling you that, here, use my service, it's the same thing as pulling the things out of the ground. Like, it's exactly the same thing. I might actually do more harm than good if I don't understand where we can actually work together collaboratively. Because as a coach, I learn as much from the people that I'm mentoring as they learn from me. And that's the way it should be. That's working together. That's turning the me into the we and getting a better result, and seeing all the things grow.
For sure.
Absolutely. Let me add one thing to this. I think it's absolutely important. We first need access, and then you get priority, and then you figure out what the service is. One of the things Greg's taught me, I've heard him say it dozens of times, is if someone just tells you what to do without first figuring out what you're trying to do, they're just trying to sell you something.
That's right.
And it's so essential to figure out, are we listening actively? Do we know what it is that they truly need? Because we've done the work, asked the question to figure out, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you doing right now in this moment to accomplish that? How is it going? What do you need to sustain doing? What do you need to abstain from doing? And what is another idea to raise your awareness of things that are possible?
Yes.
We just need to gain access. So when you think about access, service, and priority, Lora, I'm going to have you answer this side. What is the benefit of access? Because this is the real thing that we're selling. This is the real thing that you're doing in any type of mastermind, is you first figure out the access. How do I gain access to that information, access to those people? What comes top of mind for you, Lora?
Access is really about surrounding yourself or getting into a position where you can, it's like the rubber band mode, where you can be stretched, right? Being around people that have the exact same thought processes, that have the exact same experiences, doesn't help you grow. You might feel like you're at the top of the pile and that you've had a great base and all those, but it's not helping you stretch and grow and be able to get more from what you already know and also what you can give to that. So I think access really gives you the key to access is to access people that are going to expand you, that are going to, make you think in new ways and not just stay in your comfort zone. So access is really key there. And then priority, of course, we always want access to everything. And we think we should already get priority. And what we forget is that, how are we going to benefit each other, and how do we get into that position where I can have the priority of time to be able to have this conversation. It's like that great big huge conversation that you end up getting around in networking events, and everybody's like this, and you're all trying to get access to the person that you would like to have a conversation with, but there's always these things. How do you get that priority? Well, you get that priority by being able to have something, the me to a we, right? You're not just thinking about yourself, you're actually thinking about how can we get this together. Now you might have a smaller group, but it's doing that, and then you can narrow it down. So that's the priority side of it, if you will, is getting access to the people. That means you got to show up. You've got to show up to get access. 2, you have to get access and show up to the areas that have the right kind of people that are going to help you grow.
Beautiful. I'm going to add one thing right here because it came top of mind for me while you were saying this. I learned this first from Dale Carnegie. He said, you can work super hard to get a lot of friends, and after a couple of years, you might have a few more. But if you focus more on being a friend, of being of service and adding value, you're going to have more friends than you possibly have time for. It's all about making sure, what is your true focus? If our focus is just gaining access, you look at going to a concert, you have a backstage pass, you have access to those people. You can talk to them backstage and see what the green room is like. I can English. You get back there and you can interface with them in a different way than being in the crowd. You don't blend in the same because your access point is different. I remember last year I was with Greg at Limitless, and he got us these backstage passes, and I got to go backstage. Just for a moment, I waved at David Meltzer. We had multiple people that, because I was there in proximity, I was able to interface with them. I even ended up having Dave Meltzer on the podcast because of that tiny little interaction backstage. You never know when access is going to shift the trajectory of your life. And it's in those micro shifts that a lot of opportunities are created. If you recognize them, one, and then take the opportunity when it comes, not when you're ready, but when it comes.
Yeah.
So Kip, what comes top of mind for you? I know you've got a handful of things with access, service, and priority that come in here, but let's hear your take on
so I'm going to take and tie both of what you guys are saying together there, because I think you had incredibly powerful points of people really understand what it was that you were saying. So when you get access to somebody, you've got to go in with without an agenda. Mm-hmm. You've got to go in to access with understanding that, hey, I'm looking for opportunities of where I can serve the people that you're getting access to. And then how can we work collaboratively together? If you go in with the idea that, hey, I'm gonna go, if you went in and say, take David Meltzer as an example, if you went backstage there and you immediately go up to him, hey, David, nice to meet you, be on my podcast. That isn't going to work. That isn't going to work. You need to create that relationship. You need to have that access, and to Laura's point, the priority within that, to be able to create the relationship so that you can have the deep, meaningful conversations to understand what services can we offer each other in that order. Because it's all about, how can I serve you? How can I help you? How can I make your world better? And then in turn, how can you help me? It's that collaborative approach, not just I'm going in with an agenda to sell you something or to get this introduction or to get that. You're not doing it for that reason. If you are, you're going to end up missing those opportunities. Your eyes are not going to be open. You're not going to see it.
Yeah, you're almost going in with commission breath. That's what it comes off as.
Yeah, exactly.
What can I get from this?
Come in with priority. People come in with priority. Interestingly enough, you get more priority when you help or benefit somebody else too, right? Because the people that have a lot of fame, or they've done a lot of things where a lot of people want access to them. And they get inundated all the time with people wanting access. But the people that they're going to give priority to are the people that are coming in and saying, I not only would like access, but I would like to be able to provide something to you too that can do that. That starts building upon the possibility of priority. Of course, money can always be a potential priority. If you pay for the service that they're doing, you might get priority over somebody else. But the ways to get priority is really taking the me to a we. It's not necessarily saying it's all about me and my access to you, and you should just give me priority. It's really how we can build upon that so that priority becomes something that is more important.
Well, and no great things are done by an individual. I believe there's a quote out there by Steve Jobs. He's going to say something to the effect of, perfect. Great things in business are never done by one person. They are done by a team of people. And a team of people, if you're just looking for the one person, that you're going at access the wrong way. When you're putting the team together and you're putting it collaborating in that's when great things happen. And, there's no Steve, one of the greatest leaders of all time. I think nobody's going to really argue that point. Certainly an innovator, and changed the way the world thinks of phones and digital music and computers, like so many different things that have changed throughout the course of history. But it wasn't just Steve. I actually heard him say this quote on stage. It was kind of crazy when we launched the iPhone for that. And it just all shows how the access that everybody got, the priority that they got, the collaboration, turning the me to a we, This is exactly what Steve embodied the entire time for that whole thing. This is how iPhone was created. It was a team. I was working on a team of probably 500 people, and we all had our part, kind of going back to the whole piano lifting. Everybody had their own part to do. And if one part broke down, it didn't work. And it really shows that collaboration was the key to all of it.
So good. Collaboration is absolutely essential. One of the things that I wanted to bring up when you're talking about priority is the difference between being transactional and transformational. This is an essential distinction, because if you are transactional, even though you do get up there and you're like, hey, I paid for your service, show me the money. Like, this needs to work. I need to make this work. That type of relationship it's horrible. And that's with a W. And
Yeah.
it's really important to make sure.
One just in my back pocket somewhere.
That was fantastic.
It's so important to make sure that you have a transformational relationship. Now, the difference with those, I know we can talk about a lot of different things, but it's not tit for tat. Oh, there's another horror reference. Sorry about that. This is really important to make sure that we do things in I'm going to serve modality, not I need to get something from this.
Yeah.
Can you talk to that end? I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of people, but there's another one. Sorry. Go ahead.
Full of it today, Brigham.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
I have to put a disclaimer on this episode, doesn't it?
That's fantastic. You said some great points in there, and it's one of the things I love about your podcast here is it's very collaborative and back and forth, and you bring such a great topics and amazing ideas here. And I think this one is really important because so many people, in fact, Greg says this a lot. People tend to hire a coach or a mentor so that they can absolve themselves of liability. They can put the blame over there, and it's because they're always so focused on transactional things. I paid for this service, therefore I should get this back. I paid for this. Where's the money? I paid for this. This better work. You had a lot of those quotes in there, and that was exactly right. When you are so focused on the transaction, you miss the learning, you miss the enjoyment, you miss the journey. You're focusing on that destination at the end, and you forget that it's the growth along the way that actually matters. That's where you transform the world. That's where you make a lasting impact. That's where you create the legacy, is in the steps along the way. And that's where you can become the person capable of doing the things to have what you want. It's the be, do, have formula. And if you're focused on the transaction all the time, you're going to miss that. You are just simply not going to have that transformation. It's not going to be lasting. You'll end up being that flash paper that just goes boom and burns out.
And transactional versus transformational. Transactional is very one point. You go one spot and then it's kind of done. The transaction is over. Transformational is really an ever-growing and kind of an infinite loop, if you will, because it can build upon itself, that not any one point is just the end. That you can actually grow past that. You can get past that. You can do things that you actually never thought that you were going to be able to do together, if you will, because it wasn't necessarily just I want to do this, I've done that, I'm done, type of scenario.
Yeah, it kind of brings up a story. I remember probably the greatest lesson I ever learned as a leader of people. This was back in 2003, right before the Super Bowl. It was literally a couple days before the Super Bowl, and I don't know if everybody remembers the AT&T wireless commercial, or it was AT&T back then, the commercial that had M mode. Do you have your M life? And all it was in the Super Bowl commercial was a black screen that said, do you have your M mode? And a big M showed up on there. That was the whole ad. It actually crashed all of the servers at AT&T at the time because so many people went out to Googled, what is this? And hit AT&T site, crashed it. But leading up to that, that's not the story. Leading up to that, my team was responsible for building out the database for it. And my team messed up badly, like very, very badly. Like think world come to an end, servers crashing, can't get this, we can't deploy this out there. My team is in a blind panic. And so they run to me. And of course, I'm like, oh no, only I said a different word, but this is a
Thank you.
PC version of that.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yes, I had a few other choice words there, but in there, I have to go to my boss and tell him what happened. And I think one of the lesson here that I learned was my boss is like, okay, what are you going to do to fix it? I'm like, well, the only way to do this is we're going to have to stay. My whole team's going to have to stay here. We can't fly home to our families. We're not going to get to the Super Bowl. We're going to have to do all these. He's like, okay, I'll stay with you guys. And I went, why? Like there's no transaction that you're going to be doing. But here's the transformational part. He's like, I would never ask you guys to stay and give up your weekend if I wasn't willing to do it too. This is one team collaborated. We're all here together. Yes, this part broke, but as a collective team, we didn't hit our objective. So I'm going to stay here. If nothing else, I'll get lunch for everybody. I bounce ideas off of. We'll keep the morale up. And the lesson I learned there is he understood the whole me to a we immediately. He understood transactional versus transformational because he transformed the way I was thinking. And I have emulated that now every single time that I've had a team since then. I will never ask somebody to do something I'm not willing to do myself. I'll roll up my sleeves. I'll get in there with them. I will talk to it. And that creates a level of dedication and service that the whole team provides. That was absolutely transformational when we did that, and we got the server back up and running, and everything was good, and AT&T was much happier.
That's amazing. I love that. Never ask someone to do something you're unwilling to do. That's one of the reasons why I feel like the final percent is a little different.
Yes,
because instead of saying, "Hey, you guys go and do all this other stuff with personal growth," we say, "We're doing this. This is how I'm living, breathing proof that the infinity model, all elements of our life are being impacted at the same time. Come and follow rather than go and do from the front." That's a very different mentality than a lot of mentors. They may have, been in the ring in their high life. They've got that swagger of, 20 years ago, I could throw a pigskin half a mile. But no longer.
Yes.
And what we want to do is we want to be an example, not a warning. And when we become that warning, we figure out, what do I need to do to grow out of that, to shift? One of the things that I learned from Man in the Arena that I absolutely love this modality, Garrett White brought up this idea of, are you being a triangle, changing, saying, here's where I am today. And then I make one choice and it's like, now this is where I'm at. And you make another shift and you're like, okay, now I've changed again, and it changed again, and you never get anywhere. You haven't transformed because you are just going from one direction to another direction.
Yeah, you're still the same triangle.
You're the same triangle. When you look at a transformative experience, you may have started out as a triangle and then you shift to a circle. Oh, now I need to narrow this down. I need to whittle this into a sphere, and then you transform into something completely different. And it's intentional. It's something that will not be the same. There's no going back, because when you make that decision, it's not a declaration. It's saying, this is who I am now. Yeah. I wake up and exercise, even if I'm over here and there's not a convenient place to do it. You're going to go walk like I did this morning, 1.7 miles round trip so that I could get some fresh air and exercise. And the heaviest weights that I had to lift today were 8-pounders. So I was like doing these random things like push-ups and then, pushing up to the sky. I was like, I'm going to get some type of workout in, burn a handful of calories. But if you have standards, you have to live the standards. You don't just talk about the standards. You don't tell other people, hey, go do that thing if you're not doing it. I love what you brought out in your story. Don't tell someone to do something that you're not willing to do.
Correct. Yeah, be the example, not the warning. I love that quote. I know we hear Greg say that all the time, but that's that just really resonates, especially when I tie it back to a lot of the things that I've done over the years. That's exactly how I live my life by that example.
Absolutely. Now, I know you guys have a ton of fun things that you're doing right now. Let's talk about not only the mastermind that you're building, not burning. You don't want to burn your mastermind. The mastermind that you're setting on fire. It's setting the world on fire in a good way. Talk to us about Infinite Design, why that initiative, that mission is so important, because the final percent is not just in Colorado. It's not just in Utah. It's actually growing. We have people in Canada. We have people in Seattle like you guys. And we want to have this infinite initiative where you can get closer access to where you're at. So let's talk about your mastermind.
So I think that the big thing about infinite design, right? We talk about design. It gets to be a frou-frou-y word for a lot of people, but it's really about intentionality.
So good.
Well, I run into that. Everybody's like, design. Yeah. But it's about intentionality.
Yes.
You have to take steps along the way. They don't have to be all at once. They don't have to be in a perfect line. But if you're not making progress, if you're not moving forward, it doesn't matter 1 inch today, 5 feet tomorrow, whatever. If you're not making forward progression, then you're regressing. And that usually, or staying stagnant, and neither one of those is good. You get mosquitoes when you're stagnant, so I get that type of thing. But it's an intentionality, and infinite design is basically saying that there's infinite ways to intentionally help yourself stretch, grow, move forward, and accomplish, do what you want to do, not necessarily just do what somebody else wants you to do. It's what you want to do, and it's the life you want to live. And as we say, design a life worth dying for means that you have to intentionally make steps along the way so that you can have the life that you want on a daily basis, not necessarily someday we will be able to accomplish that thing. Someday I'll retire and I will be able to then do what I want to do. No, you need to take the steps every day to do that. And so infinite design is really about talking about that, helping people work through their personal levels of things that they want to do intentionally, their professional things that they want to do intentionally, their vitality. That's even more intentionally, because that is something. And then community. How can you intentionally surround yourself and be in the place with the right people, having access to the right people that lift you up and help you accomplish those things?
And in short, it's about learning again how to enjoy that journey along the way. That's what designing a life worth dying for really means. It means that you've lived a life that you're proud of. You've lived a life that you enjoy. You've lived a life with moments that you've architected all the way until your end.
Well, I absolutely love that. So guys, you definitely want to not only tap into their ecosystem. If you are in Seattle, you need to know these people. You need to get connected to them. It's so important. I love what you guys are doing. You have such a wonderful initiative. What a beautiful message. And I'm so impressed with what you're doing. Tell us in 30 seconds, what is the Seattle Totality? And then how can people find out more about it?
Oh, that's fantastic. It is an event like no other. You've never been to a personal development conference like this. It's a 2.5 day. We have a purple carpet VIP experience on August 22nd, and then a 2 full day event, Saturday, Sunday, the 23rd and 24th of August. We're going to be at the Great Wolf Lodge. Awesome venue down south of Seattle here. Super fun. And you're going to have a true transformational weekend. This is not a transaction. This is how you transform and really see the possibilities that are there.
And it's about intention, right? Taking the moment to say, you don't have a lot of time. We're all really scrunched for the amount of time that we have. It's all set, right? But if you can take the time to really immerse yourself in a growth opportunity and transform your ideas of where you go, you're going to do that at this event. It's going to give you that burst and give you the wherewithal to actually not just make it a jacuzzi experience, but to connect with people that will help you continue it down the road.
Absolutely.
So easiest way to find it is go out to thefinalpercent.com/events, and you'll see it's not just our event. There's lots of events. So if you're not in the Seattle area and can't make it, I suggest you get a plane ticket, come out here. But if you can't do that, there's other events across the country. Plug in. It's not just about us. This is turning the me to a we. No matter where you are in the United States or Canada at this point in time, you've got access at not that far away to get there. So look at all the events here. Ours is in August. We got another one in LA in July. There's stuff coming up here at the end of June in Wyoming. I mean, there's just so many places that we're going to be, and we're going to be announcing a more throughout the year. So keep checking back in.
Yeah, there's always more being scheduled, being set up, because getting people access to this kind of growth and transformation is a mission of ours, and we can't do it if we're only in a few spots. So
and we don't want to do, and we don't want to do it alone. We want to do it with you guys. Come on board.
Absolutely. So I wanted to just cap this off with just saying thank you again for showing up, showing out your love, your absolutely beautiful stories. And if you really want lasting growth, guys, the difference between lasting growth and that flash paper type of growth, the thing that happens for a week or maybe 90 days and then nothing changes and there's not a transformative experience, is being around the right community. Community supercharges everything that you do. Take a chance. If you're not sure, just borrow our belief that this is going to be helpful. If you know that this is something that's right for you, go to the Final Percent, check out the events. If you're like, hey, I want to connect more with Brigham, go to thefinalpercent.com/Brigham Blackham. I want to connect with you because this is all about gaining access to what is important for you so that you can grow and not just have that flash paper type of change where you're being that triangle in all these different configurations, but becoming the very best version of you. Not trying to fit in, but trying to belong. And today I want to help you level up. And we've got another guest right after this. I'm so grateful for Kip and Lora for being here one more time. Ooh, Michelle says life-changing. Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle, for your comment. Guys, if you are serious about personal growth, this is where we are. This is what we want to do. And we want to help you level up that life and help you live the life that is worth dying for. So have a great rest of your day and God bless.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Oh, I love you more.